K-pop has always been about the energy and vibrancy of youth. But how young is too young? So, upcoming girl group New Jeans, for instance, are all teens, and one of them is just 14 years old. Hi, I'm Marguerite De Leon, Rappler's lifestyle and entertainment editor, and in this episode of Hello to Hallyu, Rappler's roundtable talk show on Korean pop culture, the biggest K-pop stans in the Rappler staff share their feelings about teens taking on idol careers, including all that strict training and being in the public eye 24/7. So, hello to everyone today.
Hey!
Hi. So, today we have Isa Abad from the Lifestyle and Entertainment team. Say hi, Isa. And then we have Marga from production. And we have Russ from the Digicoms team. And today in her hot debut, Steph from also from the Lifestyle team. Yeah, she's a carrot and it's her first time here. And we welcome Steph to our little group. Hehe. Sige, so let's get started. I mentioned New Jeans, diba? So yung New Jeans, nag-debut siya August 1 pa lang, like just last Monday. And they're kind of controversial in a sense because uh, all of the members are teenagers and their youngest member is 14 years old, as in she was born in 2008. So I was already working then. So,
Oh, nag-work na tayo
ayun.
ng Margie.
Tama, yun. Kaga-graduate pa lang natin, Marga. So, ayun, ganun siya ka-bata. So, when you guys first heard about New Jeans and yung ages nila, how did you guys feel about it? Like, what were your initial reactions? Yun. Anyone can just step in.
Okay, sige, I can start. Actually, their official debut was actually August 1, pero they did a surprise debut I think around 2 weeks ago with Attention. And I think that's how like I really got attracted to the group more because of yung music nila. Pero just hearing about the ages kinda is a bit unsettling to me, especially knowing the Twitter talk that came after with everything that involved New Jeans, their company, Min Hee Jin, and also whatever their music in the future will be. I'm not gonna go into the details of it because some of it can be really disturbing. Pero to put it simply, then like I think as much as I want to support New Jeans, and I think that they are a very refreshing group also. At the same time, there also needs to be some kind of protection then from them, especially they could be exposed to different parts of the industry that could be very dangerous, especially if they are handled with the wrong producers, the wrong stylists, the wrong staff that could be detrimental to their growth and development, especially since they are teenagers. Pa.
Okay, how about the others?
I think one of the things that really sparked the conversation was that kasi before it's kind of not surprising na when you debut as an idol you're a teenager, but now because of everything that we know now, everything that has happened in the past, there should be, like what Russell said, more safety measures, more precautions in place. And I think valid naman yung concern na what kind of protection will these girls get given that they debuted so early. And when you debut, when you're an idol, 'di ba meron pang training period 'yan. So that's like how many years? At the very least 2 to 3 years. Some idols train for even more. So I guess the concern also is if they started training how many years ago, how young were they? Will they be able to experience the, I guess, joys of childhood and adolescence? Uh, siguro, madami din naman akong narinig na there's some confidence in Min Jihin as someone who's handling groups because during her stint as before her Hive stint, she was responsible for handling other groups also, and some of them were pretty okay. So, and siguro ngayon na babae ang nag-handle sa isang girl group din, there is I'm hopeful na magkakaroon ng protection from, let's say, the male gaze So we could only hope. We could only hope. We can't really do anything that much, pero we could only hope. Yun.
Yeah. Sige, how about Isa?
Me, honestly, when I heard about them, I love their sound. It's so catchy. Para sa akin, it's refreshing. Ayun, nagulat lang din ako kasi I wasn't aware of who they are before they started releasing their music videos. So parang nagulat ako na karamihan sa kanila was like so young. Di ba nga, 14 years old. Tapos parang if you monitor the response to their debut then, some are pointing out na yung lyrics law sa isa nilang kanta, Cookie, kind of like gives off like sexual innuendos. So that's another like conversation then na parang they're too young to be singing about something na parang not appropriate for their age. So I feel like that's also one of the reasons kung bakit medyo napag-uusapan na talaga ngayon kung bakit masyadong bata yung mga idols na nagde-debut recently. Kasi hindi naman na talaga siya bago. I guess ang nangyari lang is medyo napapadalas na talaga. So ayun.
Okay. Now, Steph, as our resident mental health slash parenting, kahit hindi ka parent, uh, expert, parang, how did you feel about this, this new, these members?
Actually, yeah, I just started learning about how young they were because when you see them perform, they're not styled or they don't dress like 13, 14-year-olds. Because when I was 13, 14, I was so awkward. I mean, most of us normal people didn't know how to dress. We didn't have our own style yet. So on nene days pa, we didn't know how to talk to boys. Puro baka ako lang. You balance school, your interests. So like I didn't even know like what I wanted to be yet when I grew up. So like at that age, they already have like a full blown career. And I feel like as especially a female going through like puberty at that age, mental and physical changes, you need to go through the awkward stage, I think, to learn more about who you are, who or yourself. So like parang na fast track yung development nila, which I think is also a delicate path because as we see in Hollywood, like all the not even all, but a lot of child stars have like when they're older now, they get into the vices, drugs, alcohol, and all that. So I think there really is a correlation between starting um, that kind of life very young and being expected to adjust accordingly because it's that industry is tough. I mean, the elder K-pop stars, I'm sure, are subject to the same kind of stress, but these are children. Like at that age, you're supposed to be, studying, enjoying, having fun. So, as mentioned, I hope there are some protocols or measures in place just to keep their sanity and childhood in a way still intact, if that's possible. Hopefully.
Right. The whole time I'm thinking like what's going through the parents' minds when this was happening. Like, 'di ba? I mean, oh yeah, nag-debut yung youngest nila ng 14. So nag-train sila for like 2-3 years. So that was like they were barely past 10. They were like 11 or 12. So, syempre parang pumayag yung parents diyan, 'di ba? So like ano kaya yung iniisip nila, like was it just because of the money, or like I don't know. I don't know what self-respecting parent, honestly, in my opinion, like would allow something like that. I mean, it's not like bulag yung mga Koreans dun sa culture of the how hard the training is and stuff. Like it's something that's openly talked about naman. So wala lang, napaisip lang ako, like kayo guys, like if you were a parent, would you consider, like if your child went up to you and said like I want to be an idol, and they were like 12 or 13 years old, like how would you react to that?
Funny thing is, I actually had a niece who mentioned that because, yun nga, when we found out na napakabata ng New Jeans and halos kaedad niya lang, she's just a year younger than the youngest member, she said that, do you think I stand a chance in becoming an idol? And I told her, look, your life is never going to be the same if you become one. You're a smart, talented kid, but your life is never going to be the same. You can't just walk in Starbucks and not get mobbed, 'di ba? And these are joys that will be that will be taken away from you. Yung tahimik na buhay, which honestly is something that we only get to appreciate as we get older. Because when you're young and impressionable, you think that they're living the dream. They have so many fans. They're famous worldwide. They have all of these outfits, and they get all the perks. Pero there's so much hard work that goes into being an idol, and I think it's no secret naman how yung yung industry, yung idol industry, how it really works its idols hard. As in, on steroids talaga the training that they go through. So, siguro some parents, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to put myself in their situation na siguro it's kind of like the Korean dream na because of the success of all these idol groups na we've seen na nagsimula din sa wala and then now they're superstars. Siguro merong ganon na in a way some of the parents become impressionable also and think na maybe my child will get to have this once in a lifetime experience or opportunity if naging idol siya. So siguro ganon. I'm not condoning it. I'm not like really slamming it whatsoever because there's that I guess I empathize with them na siguro naging impressionable din sila because of that entire conditioning nung idol industry. Yun.
Mm. Wala, parang naisip ko like, kasi Korea is so different from the Philippines. Like dito sa Pilipinas, like there are so many people who think na, okay, I want my kid to be a star para aahon kami sa kahirapan, yung mga ganon. And parang, I don't know how similar or how different that would be sa Korea. Kasi, I mean, financially, economically, they're significantly different from us. So like, wala lang. I try to figure out parang in my head, like, how does that work in their heads? Anyway, yun. So, sino dito yung, what do you call this, medyo knowledgeable dun sa rules and regulations for K-pop companies, like for training their idols. Like I assume Isa would know a bit about that. Like so parang how does that parang, how do they coexist with those kinds of rules? How do these kids coexist with those kinds of rules?
As we've mentioned din naman kasi hindi na bago yung pag-debut ng young idol sa K-pop industry. We have Boa at 13 years old, Shiny Staemin, 14 years old. That was like 2007 pa. Tapos, ang daming second generation idols din na parang sila Crystal, lahat sila mostly 14 years old. Pero that was like way before 2010. Before 2010. Tapos may conversations na rin regarding sa um, how do companies, paano ba dapat i-deal ng companies yung mga ganito kabatang idols. So, one thing we're aware of is that meron silang rules na parang before 10 p.m. ay hindi sila pwedeng lumampas na magtrabaho after 10 p.m. So, usually, kapag there were instances na parang mga awarding ceremonies, tapos yung ibang underage or minor idols, kapag lampas na ng 10 p.m., pinapaalis na sila kasi nga, bawal na sila mag-work for that time. Tapos, I guess we also have to take into consideration yung changes sa Korean law na parang ang maximum na lang sa contract ngayon ay 7 years na lang sila. Kasi dati, before that, parang before yung issue with like this group na JYJ, kasi parang nagreklamo sila na parang their contract ata was for 13 years. So imagine na lang na you were like 14 years old tapos you signed a 13-year contract. Parang makakaalis ka lang you were already like 27 years old, magta-30 ka na. So ayun, parang dahil doon nagkaroon ng conversation na parang nagkaroon ng changes sa law na parang ang maximum na lang ngayon ay 7 years na lang yung longest na isang idol. So pero if you'll think about it, although it's still considered a win, pero iisipin mo, 7 years, tapos 14 years old kang magsasign ng contract. Parang do you even know kung ano ba talaga yung pinag-uusapan? Like, can you even understand everything that goes on with your contract. So, isa pa rin yun sa conversation ngayon. Lalo na kasi, ang bata pa rin nila. Like, I can't imagine myself, like, reading this such a serious contract when I was, like, 14 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, parang I can just imagine like a kid getting offered tas syempre ang isipin nila parang, "Yay, okay, fun." Alam mo 'yun, 'di ba? Parang
Yeah.
that's the only thing that goes through their heads. Like, ano pa yung mga dangers na nakikita niyo, dun sa possible signing up for younger idols? Ano pang naiisip niyo?
Um, for me, I think the I mean, there's a sense, a culture of perfectionism in Korea, as we can see, like K-pop idols, groups, models, beauty, and I think the idea of perfectionism on its own is detrimental to any human being, Korean or not, and when it's so rampant in the K-pop industry, and to apply that pressure on a child who's, we can't expect to be fully self aware na, or like actualized, of course. So they need guidance, I think. Anyone, even us adults, we always need guidance. So children need someone to tell them how to, in case they need mental help, or even like the pressures. Like, I don't know if their managers, like, syempre, as you mentioned, their kids contracts. So of course that's held. That's, how do you say that? The bosses, the managers are in charge of that. Like, how are we so sure that they have the best interests of these children at heart? Like, at the end of the day, I think money is really the end goal, I think. Is that fair to say? And as mentioned by Marga, like, the reinforcements of this, the positive reinforcements of the industry are, fame, how many tweets, if you're viral, chart topping songs, how much money is raked in during your debut. And these are good things to aim for, but at the end of the day, is that really all you're aiming for? And if that's like the only goal in your life every day, like, I gotta earn money, blah blah blah, I gotta rake in the hits, I think that would be detrimental to anyone when your self-worth is attached to these material things. So that's a risk I see psychologically as well to these young K-pop stars.
Yeah, I can imagine like fame can do things to you no matter what age you are. Basically, like it's being famous is such a unnatural state to be in. So ayun, parang I don't think it even matters what age you are. Parang just being in that situation can quite affect you negatively or positively. How about you, Russ?
I think I do agree with Steph naman, especially with the money aspect. And I think, especially if you notice more in fourth generation groups, the more younger groups, there's younger members. For example, in IVE, the youngest member is around 15 years old. So what Korean companies are looking after, I think, are people that relate to the younger generation. But then there's always the risk of that backfiring because they're exposed to the harsh realities of the industry, the working hours, possibly yung mga condition that could be considered exploitation, and it really feels medyo uncomfortable. I know that there have been cases about that already, that even members were abused to the point by the managers. I think also there's this sense that parang there's more younger people kasi if you notice then like there's also a bit of stigma against older members in K-pop. Like I think we should also notice like are there people who are idols in their late 20s to 30s. Like I can only name like a few, for example Irene from Red Velvet, or the more seasoned K-pop idols na, not necessarily new members. So that is very unsettling in a way na okay, fine, okay, you want role models, but then like if you want to give a perfect example to people in society, why are you exposing young people to these conditions when, as Steph said, they deserve to have a normal life, a normal teenage life, to be able to study, um to be able to go to school, to be able to hang out with their friends, to be able to have like a healthy life. Because once you become an adult, and honestly, like as a person also then who who's starting to realize the intricacies of adulthood, it's really cruel. And for these children to be exposed to those conditions is kind of a bit cruel in a way in the part of these companies.
Right. How about you, Marga?
I wanted to say something about ageism also, which is greatly magnified in this idol industry. Like this is not something that's specific to Korea, but something that happens, I guess, globally. There's this culture of, I guess, obsession with youth and ageism na kasi ang hilig natin, di ba, sa mga 25 under 25, 30 under 30. So, yung mga ganong youth culture worship, that's magnified in the idol industry na kesyo kapag younger, talagang hype eh. Kasi not only because nakaka-relate siya sa generation or kumbaga role model siya, so to speak, ng generation na tina-target nitong mga idol ng management ng idol groups, but it's also there's also that notion na pag mas bata ka, mas in the moment ka, and as you get older you become more disposable or you're not that bankable enough. So ayun, so parang ang nangyayari is yung yung pagma-manufacture ng grupo while they're at the prime of their youth is kumbaga taking advantage of the fact na meron kayong culture of worship talaga ng youth kapag youth in, kapag matanda na, laos na, ganon. So yun, may ganong ageism.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that kasi parang recently yung SM Entertainment, may in-announce silang mga rookies or trainees. Tapos one of these trainees was parang, he was born in 1996, so that makes him like 25, 26 years old. So people were actually talking about like his age, like how he was debuting at a relatively older age. So parang, is it good that he's debuting at that age, or is there such a thing then as too old naman or something? Like ikaw, Isa, like how did you feel about that?
Honestly, kasi nung nakita ko yung age niya, hindi na ako na-surprise na it would cause like this uproar among the fans. Kasi, yun nga, yung sinabi nila na yung masyado kasing youth-centric in general yung K-pop industry, not just to the artists but to the fans also, na parang kapag raw working ka na, dapat hindi ka na fan ng ganito, which is like bullshit. Pero going back to the artists rin naman, yun, kasi as someone who grew up like watching K-pop na rin, grew old with K-pop na rin, parang obvious na rin na some of the like old idols such as like Super Junior, Girls' Generation, yung active pa rin ngayon. Minsan, some of like new fans, medyo inaatake na sila na it's time for them to retire. Eh, hindi pa naman sila 40 years old. I mean, they're just like around like mid-30s, gano'n, na parang some are like saying na hindi na raw sa kanila fit yung concept. So, nung may bagong idol na already 26 years old, tapos mag-debut pa lang siya, which kung i-compare mo siya sa mga kasamahan niya, like, there's several idols now, like BTS, Jungkook, diba? Sila 17 members na parang old members ng 17, mga kaedaran niya lang na parang at the peak of their careers na. So parang ang dami nagsasabi na it's too late for him. Pero for me, as a fan, parang I don't think it's bad na late siya. Kasi ang dami niyang parang lesser restrictions considering his age. Na parang he could do several concepts, like, diba? I mean, parang hindi, kasi obviously, gets naman natin na kapag i-compare mo siya sa young idols, na parang may mga limitations lang talaga sila kung ano yung concepts na gagawin nila, kung ano yung mga parang projects na they could participate in. Pero that's a different case naman when you're older na. Tsaka, feeling ko din na parang mas like speaking of like attitude or like characterization, mas kaya niya nang i-face kung gaano ka harsh yung industry in general. Kasi feeling ko, hindi na siya like onion skinned when we were young. So, mas may stability na siya at this age, at this point in his life. So, ayun lang.
Yeah, na-amaze nga ako eh. Today I learned na the oldest guy sa Super Junior is like just a year older than I am. So parang, oh my God, ka-age ko pala sila. Wala lang, ang weird lang. How about you, Steph? Like, how do you feel about, yun nga, debuting at 26, at a slightly older age?
I think age knows no boundaries and you can do what you want at any age as long as you can. I mean, ageism, yeah, in general, like, well, even here in the Philippines, like, if you're already, syempre, there's more priority if you're younger, fresher, fitter, and all that. So that's just attributed to our superficial standards, I guess, of attractiveness in a sense. But like in terms of K-pop, like as Isa said, I think um it's not necessarily, of course, a bad thing because you come into the industry with a more solid sense of self. Yan, you're not as sensitive or as naive, so that pays to your advantage as well. And also, yeah, you have experience. I assume, like, um, with age comes experience, so you bring that with you, and as long as you're healthy, you're fit, and all that, you can still like dance just like the youngins. So I don't see why there should be any like um discrimination if you're older. Youngins, sorry. So yeah, and like you do you. But of course there's society, so it's up to you na din if you want to take that risk. But I see no problem with it. It could be even an advantage if you play it well.
Right. Youngin. So, basta as long as wala ka pang hip replacement,
Yeah.
okay ka pa. Um,
Uh,
Inisip ko din, like, devil's advocate, parang kahit na 26 ka na, for me then, I don't know, maybe because I'm talking as a 37-year-old, magiging 37-year-old. So, parang ang iniisip ko, ang bobo ko pa rin yung 26 ako. So, wala lang, parang just a reality check din na parang just because you're 26, parang just because you've lived slightly longer than a 17-year-old, parang doesn't make you particularly, parang doesn't make you a genius either. Alam mo yon? Parang you still have to go through a lot of things parang to figure yourself out even at that age. So, wala lang, parang inisip ko lang na at this point, ang importante na lang is presence of mind and like mindfulness and just making sure that you're taking things carefully and stuff like that, and that parang that knows no age at this point. Because I mean, even if you're 37, you're still making mistakes, you're still figuring yourself out. Naging issue ko pala yung sorry, this is not my show. Anyway, yun. So, how about you, Ross? Ano yung feeling mo about the older debutant?
I would actually welcome it. And also if you consider like how very like considering the culture of K-pop then like I would think about this in the role model example, for example. Um I saw a tweet na parang, okay, it's okay to stream, for example, New Jeans music, but then when it comes to the photo card, the merchandise, would you feel comfortable getting a photo card of a 14-year-old? Like, it would make you feel very uncomfortable. What if there are fans who would try to do anything to, like, to barge on that 14-year-old? It's very unethical then. But then, not that I would like encourage like yung mga those behaviors at any age, but then really like at least for the fact they have someone that feel ko, okay, at least this person feels na parang may katapat na age ako na at least I can feel like I could relate to, I could look up to, who go through the difficulties in life. Kasi at the same time man din, at least tama naman yung iba na parang at least he has a sound of mind, then he's already mindful then of what's going on around him. And I honestly feel like with the 26-year-old idol then, I think it could also combat din yung culture din of K-pop na parang, you know, I think also like there's some cultures in K-pop that we have to break na din. Yung parang that pure nature K-pop, yung parang the need for idols to be pure and everything. Which I think in the first place, it's the reason why companies are debuting these young people in the first place. They want them to be pure. But I think there's a need to like break the stigma na din na parang they have to be pure. I think I think companies need to show that they are humans din na parang they also have their own sense point of view about things. Yeah, sure, they are in a specific group, they are in a specific concept, but then they are their own person. They're not something that can be controlled by a company, by a CEO, ganon. So ayun.
That's actually disturbing. You're mentioning the purity aspect. Like, I mean, that's basically talking about their virginity, diba? Or their innocence sexually. So parang, that's yeah, that is really disturbing when you think about it that way. It's almost pedophilic slash perverse if to a certain extreme if you think about it. Ayun.
Mm.
Ikaw, Marga, as someone who is my age, ay, lalaglag na kita.
Yan, booking yan. Ako naman, I think kasi this is something that's noticeable sa K-pop groups across the board na they cultivate this parasocial relationship with their fans na you are our girlfriends or you are our boyfriends. So there has to be there really has to be that merong veneer of purity or availability kasi they are kumbaga sila yung idols are marketed as jowa ng fans nila, and eh, knowing that there are idol groups that are debuting at such a young age, parang they have to play the role of boyfriend or girl, in the case of New Jeans, girlfriend sa mga fans nila. That's a little I mean, as Margie said, bilang kaedad niya 14, it's 14 even up to 16. What do we know? Ano ang anong alam natin about the world? So it's to be so young and to be thrown into such a worldly environment. If I think if you manage to get out of it, or if you manage to stay on there as okay lang, if you're stable mentally, that's that's not because of your environment, that's despite of your environment. So parang ang nangyayari is, if you go through something to varying degrees, that's par for the course because of yung industry na napasukan mo, the idol industry. So at saka one thing na naisip ko rin bilang older fan is that if an idol debuts mas at a relatively older age, in fact, he or she can use it to their advantage by siguro playing up as the opa or the Nuna image, which actually gets some hype in fandoms. So yun siguro that's a possible approach sa market or pag-brand ng mga idols na that age.
Mm. Inisip ko nga rin, like, isn't that parang when you're young and you're trying to pretend to be the girlfriend or boyfriend of the entirety of South Korea, parang, like, won't that mess with your concept of love and relationships then? Like, 'di ba? Parang, are you ever going to trust anybody? Are you ever going to have a healthy, parang adult relationship with anyone if you grew up thinking that people loved you 100%? And it just boggles the mind. Okay, so we could talk about this forever, but we're actually down to our last question. So how you we all said na okay, sana the companies, the entertainment companies behind these idols um make sure that there are safety nets, safety measures for these idols, no matter what age, honestly. So parang for you, like what kind of safety measure like would you want to see in for example in a contract in that sense? Sige, let's start with Isa.
Mm, kasi honestly, I don't think, the fact of like debuting young idols won't like disappear anytime soon, or it would like reduce anytime soon, since like it's basically like the new trend right now. I feel like what we could do, I feel like what the management could do is just like, yan, be more proactive na lang in taking care of their idols. Kasi, honestly, bukod sa, I think we're fixated din masyado kasi natin inisip na when they make their debut, they'll, it equates to their success. It doesn't always mean, hindi siya ganon. Like, parang there's also risks na they'll fail, 'di ba? Parang can you imagine na parang someone like at 15 years old um spending what 3 to 5 years of her life training only to not get the success that she wants. 'Di ba? That's emotionally taxing for someone na parang all the sacrifices that you did, wala namang napuntahan. So I guess that's also for me parang super important na may mental health guidance yung mga idols all throughout their career, not just like because they're young. We also have to like consider rin na yung mga naunang idols na nag-debut at such a young age. Bo was specifically the youngest idol to debut at 13 years old. Ilang beses na rin naman siya nagsabi na parang if it was her, I mean, she won't advise na celebrities would debut at such a young age. Parang there were even times na parang, there was this time na parang sa isang competition show na siya mismo yung nag-stop sa isang auditionee kasi masyado raw hindi age appropriate yung pag-dance audition niya. So I guess that's one of the things that like managements can do is to make sure na if they're debuting young celebrities, should make sure na yung ginagawa nila is fit for their age. Um, Kasi ang dami na rin issues lately, like there's groups like the Seraphim, na parang, new jeans rin, na parang nako-call out sila kasi it's either they're wearing super like, they're wearing parang masyadong provocative clothing, tapos parang their dance moves are like, yun, parang medyo hindi rin appropriate for their age. So I guess we just have to be careful na making sure na parang what they do is yung hindi sila masasexualize or ma-exploit considering na ganun yung may nature rin ganun yung industry. So as fans too, as fans and viewers, I think we could also be more active in calling out these practices ng mga management mismo.
Okay. How about you, Steph?
Um, well, I have a lot. In an ideal world, these K-pop stars hopefully would still have access to education, or at least have the choice of finding a way of to insert, school. I don't know how on the go artists do it, but I think that should be an important choice that they can make while still being a star. And aside from education, I hope that they have allotted times for recreational vacation or just time off. Like after a tour, are they granted like a month or with their family? Can they go back home, spend time with friends, or just hang out as a group with no career strings attached? Stuff like simple. Actually, it's just the simple things. Like I hope they're granted that privilege or right, actually. And as Isa also mentioned, mental health, I think, is very crucial in their survival and as an artist and as a adolescent. So ideally they'd have like an on-site therapist or mental health professional always on call, or just even like monthly sessions just to check up on how they're doing mentally. And I in relation to that, also, Isa also mentioned the social media protection. So these children will be subject to sexualization online, or even trolls, haters. You know how fans may get very rabid online if you do one little mistake. So as young not adults, these children are very susceptible to that. So I feel like their management should be stringent in at least trying to protect them from that world first, because that could really mentally harm someone anyone. And I think last would be, aside from normal working or, well, not normal, but working hours that are have boundaries, like they can't overtime as much, that's also unhealthy. Oh, in connection also to the therapist, I think nutrition is also something that may be not thought of, because I'm sure they go through extreme diets and they work out a lot. And of course, there's a priority to be thin, skinny, and I think they should prioritize also being healthy, or have them on a diet that works for them personally, because that's important also. And then last, hopefully these stars also have some sort of freedom of creative control. Like, I think they would also need a sense of fulfillment in their career. So if they have some say in, like, how their concept is going to be, their new album, like 17, I know that they have hands-on control in their music production, their album. So I mean, and then I assume, they're happy. So, I hope that also is practiced with other groups, because I think that's important for them too, to feel like a part of them is in their work, rather than their work being dictated to them.
Okay,
There.
so hear that, guys of 17? Steph wants you all to be happy and healthy and ano,
Yeah.
properly nourished, apparently. Ayun. So, how about you, Russ?
I think a lot of the things mentioned have been said by Isa and Steph, but then I think to add to the social media part, I guess I hope entertainment companies would push to try to encourage social media networks to try to at least crack down on very illegal behavior, sassing behavior, creepy behavior, like stalking to like see your idols, ano pa, n- illegal comments. It's been it's been recorded in the K-pop industry on how negative comments have affected the mental health of idols. So I hope they really do take a look to encourage social media companies to actually try to be more stricter in terms of filter, not necessarily filtering, but then in terms of making sure that the idol's well-being is the priority. Because as much as we fans want to interact with them, there are times that we go beyond the line. And I think one more thing pa, as fans, us fans, sometimes we do demand na parang, oh, why haven't they come back in this amount of months? And I think it reflects also on how the K-pop industry is built na, oh, they have to come back every few months, or ganon ganon, when for example in the western music industry it takes years for people to release an album. I hope we as fans would consider the age of the idols, what they're going through, in demanding better treatment from the company, because sometimes just because we say, oh, we want another comeback, doesn't mean that it will be to their benefit.
Yeah, tama. That's a really good point na fans are just as they could be also accountable in this issue. Finally, Marga, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I think ano lang, in relation to what Ross said, if tayo, our responsibilities as fans, not just to call out within reason something that we see that's na wrong, but also to establish boundaries also, na when we enter a fandom or when we decide to idolize or be a fan of any idol or any idol group, we have to take into consideration na wala tayong say sa buhay nila, and wala tayong hindi tayo pwede maging super intrusive. So whatever decisions they make, let's be supportive fans, by offering constructive criticism to siguro the way they're handled, or the way they're if we see something reasonably off. Pero in other aspects of their lives, let's give them the normalcy that is a very rare commodity sa buhay nila these days.
All right. Perfect. And with that, guys, that ends our episode for today. Thank you, Isa, Marga, Russ, and of course, our hot debutante, Steph, for being with us here today. And hopefully, we can see you guys more in our next episodes, especially Steph. Haha. Ayun.
Okay. No
So,
problem.
to our viewers, if there's anything K culture related that you want us to talk about, or if you want to see people's photo card collections, please comment or tweet us with the hashtag hello_2_Hallyu. So I'm Margie De Leon, and this was Hello to Hallyu. Thank you guys.
Ay,